You're listening to LVB Podcast Show with your friend, advocate, and host, Alvaro.
Hi and welcome to LVB Show. My name is Alvaro and I am very happy to be with you today. Before I introduce our guest, as always, I want to say thank you so much to people listening from the United States. We have listeners in Canada, in Australia, in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America. And well, it's been over 10 years now doing this podcast. And it's the first time I bring to the show because, it's not easy to find someone like the guest I'm presenting today. She's a certified, and I want to say that very clear, certified life coach. She has many other certifications and things. And I'm very inspired by her. And I said off the record to her, we're going to be friends. And she said, yes. And I said, this is exciting. So her name is, her name is Elizabeth Oleksa. And she is someone who has a lot to say for our listeners. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here with us.
Alvaro, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. And as I usually do first, my first question is, what's the cause of your blindness?
That is a great question. I lost all of my sight a little over 9 years ago. At the age of 27. I lost it in a matter of less than 3 months from severe diabetic retinopathy. I have been a type 1 diabetic with a lot of complications since I was 6. Have my 30-year anniversary this year, just coming up in a few weeks, but I lost my sight because of complications from my diabetes.
So Elizabeth, you're going to do most of the talking today, which is hard to believe for the people who know this show, because I usually do most of the talking, but because I love to talk, what can I say? But Elizabeth loves to talk, and our listeners want to hear your life journey. So I'll shut up and listen to you.
Well, thank you so much. It's a little bit of a longer story. So if you just position yourself in a comfortable spot right now where you're not doing anything too important and you can just sit back and close your eyes and relax, I'll take you on my journey. So we'll go back 30 years. I'm currently 36, and I say we'll go back 30 years because that's where my whole journey truly began. At the age of 6, I was diagnosed with highly insulin-resistant type 1 insulin-dependent diabetes. And what that means basically is my pancreas produces a hormone called insulin. Well, most pancreases are supposed to produce that hormone. And at the age of 6, my pancreas decided to retire and said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. It is a metabolic condition, so it's not caused by something that I did or that my parents did or anything like that. It's in my genetics. And my blood sugars could not be controlled. And when this whole process started, everybody's body requires insulin to break down sugars in their body so that it doesn't cause damage to their organs and their different functions of daily living. But my body actually resists the insulin and doesn't want to allow me to absorb it and use it properly, which is where the complications have come in as my life has gone on. At the age of 12, I noticed that I was starting to deal with some severe anxiety and depression, and felt very alone in my journey. I didn't know many other children who were diabetic, and if they were diabetic, their journey wasn't like mine because their bodies would absorb their insulin, and I just felt very alone. But through that, I always seemed to connect with other people. I always listened and just wanted to help. And that's all I've ever wanted to do my entire life, is help people. And my whole life, everybody says, oh, it's just so easy to talk to you. It's like, you get it. Everything I say, you get. Well, that's where I guess this gift has been given. And when it comes to present day, and I don't want to jump to present day yet, but that's where I've gotten to where I am today. So I continued through my teenage years and graduated high school at 17, and at 18 received the most incredible 18th birthday gift, which was finding out that I was pregnant with my son. His name is Logan, and he is my pride and joy, as Mama gets tears in her eyes right now. He is now 17 years old, 17 and a half, and has made me proud beyond anything I could have ever imagined. So I was working as a young single mom. I was working in Alzheimer's and dementia unit, helping the elderly and the geriatric age group, dealing with this deterioration of their mind. And it was a passion for me. I just felt like I could really help them somehow and support them. And at the same time, I put myself through school. I graduated with 2 degrees, one in elementary education and one in special education. I've always had a passion for working with people who had different needs. I think that it's so important for the community and just society to understand that people who have differences, people who have special needs or different needs, are still people. And whether they have a disability or a disease or a syndrome, it doesn't matter. They're still people, and they're part of humanity, and we all share this world together. So I felt I was put in a position where I could help this vulnerable population of individuals who were not always treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve. So as we keep moving forward, I'm getting older, and I noticed one day while I was at work that my vision was really off. And I got concerned because I saw this dark moving line in my visual field, and I was convinced I had a worm in my eye. All right, laugh at me. Go ahead. It's okay. Yes. How are you going to get a worm in your eye? But I was pretty convinced. I called the doctor. I was freaked out. It was like, I have a worm in my eye. And I even called my mom, and she laughed at me, and she's probably rolling her eyes right now when she listens to this. But she said, Elizabeth Ann, you're a freak of nature. And she hung up the phone laughing, and then called me right back and said, no, really, what's going on with your eye? Later to find out that I, in fact, had a massive bleed in the back of my eye from diabetic retinopathy, where the blood vessels become very fragile and start to break and bleed. And then as they break, they heal, and new little blood vessels grow. And because they're so little, they're even more fragile. And then they break and rupture and bleed and then heal. And the process just keeps going until there's so much scar tissue in the eye that you eventually lose your sight. I've had countless eye surgeries, including retinal reattachments and cataract removals, and secondary cataracts and glaucoma, depressurizing surgeries, and hundreds of thousands of lasers, and nothing seemed to help. And the doctors got to the point where they said, there's nothing more we can really do to try to preserve your vision, but we can keep treating this so that you don't end up having to lose your eyes completely. Physically still have my eyes, but just not working. And I was okay with that. It took me a while, a couple weeks, couple months, and I wouldn't say that I'm still fully accepting of where I'm at with having lost my sight. However, that's where my true journey began. I smile as I say this to you. I tell everybody that when I had my physical sight, I feel like I lived in darkness. And now that I live in physical darkness, I can only see the light. Everything changed when I lost my sight. I stopped worrying about what other people were going to think so much. I mean, it still weighed heavily on me, but I really had to focus on me. I had a choice I needed to make. Was I going to allow this new diagnosis and this loss of eyesight to take over my life when my son's 8 years old? How's he going to grow up and learn and to be the best that he can be if I'm not able to show him? So needless to say, I really had a choice to make. And I decided that I wasn't going to wallow in self-pity, and I was going to make something of myself, because losing my eyesight allowed me an opportunity to gain a vision, and I could finally see what my purpose was in life. And I was meant to follow my heart and truly support, encourage, and empower those around me in every way that I possibly can. So I decided to go back to college. I had always had a dream of being involved in psychology somehow. And so many people throughout my lifetime had said, oh, no, you couldn't do it. There's nothing out there for you in that field. And I said, forget that. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to do it as someone without my physical eyesight. And I'm going to show people that anything can be done as long as we believe in ourselves. And that's my big thing. I mean, my son will even say to people, whatever you do, don't tell my mom she can't do something, because she will do whatever she can to prove you wrong. And my way of living that way is, okay, so I might not be able to do it exactly like somebody else. I may have to adapt it. It may take me 20 times longer, but I can still do it, and there's nothing wrong with doing something differently. So I went back to school, and I just graduated this past May from Cedar Crest College. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree in applied psychology. And originally my plan was to go further on to graduate school and earn my master's degree in counseling. And then reality hit me, because there's so much more that I haven't shared about my journey. This has all been about my diabetes and, my eyesight, but I have countless health issues that are pretty limiting and can truly change from moment to moment. And quite frequently it's debilitating, and I can't get out of bed because my pain levels are so high, or my exhaustion and fatigue is so high that, I get out of breath just going from one room to the next, and I need to sit down and rest because my heart rate will go out of control, and it's not pleasant. So reality hit me, and I said, how am I really going to complete this degree? Do I really need this degree? Or why am I doing this? Why is the question? And I really had to dig deep to find out my why. And I realized that through everything, my desire to go to graduate school for my master's in counseling was for the wrong reason. I thought because so frequently people who are blind or visually impaired are looked down upon in society for whatever reason. It's just that awful stereotyping that I was starting to stereotype myself. And I thought, people would look more highly upon me, or look at me as a better person if I had this degree behind my name. And I talked to a bunch of my faculty and professional staff through the college and through the graduate school that I was accepted into. And they said, truthfully, you'd be bored. you're way advanced past all of this. You could actually be teaching these classes. Why don't you try something else that will save you a whole ton of money in the process? Because graduate school is not very friendly to the pocketbook. So I looked into life coaching and found that that is where I belong, and that is where my heart lies. And that brings us to where we are today.
Wow. I have to interrupt you because this is very powerful for our listeners. First of all, Elizabeth, one of the reasons I want to be your friend is because one of the most important qualities to me is honesty. And so many people are double-faced. So many people try to hide who they are or some weaknesses along the way or whatever happens in their lives. Sometimes they say, I'm okay. I'm okay. They may not be okay, but they are not being honest with them and other people. And the way you talk about your life journey, I think is remarkable. And I think that's what everybody should do in their lives. That's number one. Number two, I want to share something with you, Elizabeth, and some of our listeners know this. For any given reason, that is not the point right now of this talk, I was not able to go to college. And of course, money played a role at that time. I was losing my sight, and many people thought it would be hard for me to even work because losing my sight and living in a country like Colombia where opportunities are not too high and people do not believe much in people with disabilities, it was very hard for me to know what to do next. And this is not the show to talk about my story, but the point I want to make is, although I didn't go to college, I pushed myself to become someone. I started working when I was about 19 for my father's business, which I was the one who helped create the business, and the idea was mine. And I started to develop the business without knowing anything about a business. I studied technical career in hotel and travel management of 2 years. And I finished that, and it was a proud moment for me to show that I was able to do that. And then I ended up some years ago working in New York City for an American organization without having a degree in English, having a college degree, or any other title more than just a technical degree in hotel and travel management. I was able to do that. Everybody's able to do whatever they wish to. We have to believe in who we are. We need to be proud of who we are, regardless if we have 20 degrees, PhDs of whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is who we are, what we're able to bring to the table. And of course, we need to progress in our lives. We need to get better in anything we can, in anything we desire to be, like Elizabeth is doing and has done in her life. But it's critical for our listeners, and I know many of our listeners are in the United States, and I do understand there is this culture of you need a college degree, and I do understand that. But there are many people like Steve Jobs who didn't go to college, and well, he became who became. And I mean, we cannot put a label on people because they have or they don't have a degree. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And sometimes, Elizabeth, I'm tired of listening to people saying, you got to go to college. Your son has to go to college. Your daughter has to go to college. Not really. If you pay attention to Europe, and as people know, Europe is advanced, and we take a look at Germany, in Germany, there are over, I'm not sure if it is 30 or 40% of the population who study a technical degree, specialize in a technical degree, They do a 2-3 year max studies, and they get a certification, and they become wonderful workers anywhere they go. And they understand that it's not about college, it's about many other things. Actually, I'm going to have someone in the education field to discuss that, because sometimes it's complicated to have a discussion with people that have had many PhDs, and they will argue with you all day and all night. But reality is, the truth sometimes is in the middle. I'm not saying a degree is not good for you. I have many friends who have wonderful degrees, and it's wonderful. But sometimes you have to understand there are many reasons that make you don't go there, and you develop your abilities in other ways. And also, life is a wonderful college. And you may not get a certification by living, but boy, you get a lot of skills by living your life. So that's what I wanted to point out. Sorry, Elizabeth, I stopped you from.
Oh, don't apologize. It's all good. This is important for people to hear. It's vital, because you never know where somebody else may be in their own journey, and hearing that may be their aha moment to realize that, you know what, I'm good just the way I am. I don't need to move forward. If you want to, that's great. Good for you. But if not, it's okay. It's completely okay.
It is. And now that we go into the life coaching business, I have a question. Okay, we're listening to some interesting sounds there. But do you need to go to
some relaxation music in the background so that
that's beautiful.
I stay calm.
I like that. So for our listeners, I read a lot of articles about people in the planet everywhere who say, okay, I lost my job, I'm going to be a coach, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I say to myself, okay, but that's not a mission. And I want to touch that with you, Elizabeth, because you have a purpose, and you decided to go into life coaching for a purpose, and you decide to get certified for a purpose. Define for our listeners, what is a certified life coach? Why did you decide that, and how long have you been one?
It's a great question. Well, let me start first of all by saying, in order to be a life coach, there are no requirements. There are no special, you have to do X, Y, or Z to truly be a life coach. I personally chose a certification program for part of my training, because to me, just having gone through a program and saying, okay, you know what, I understand this is great. But as a full completion of that circle of that knowledge and growth personally, emotionally, and mentally, and being able to carry that forward, for me, it was important to have a certificate stating that, you know what, yes, I have completed this. That's more for my own purpose and my own edification. There are a lot of people who are not certified and who are outstanding coaches.
Right.
However, it is a calling. Yes. It is very much so along the lines of someone who grows up and says their entire life they want to be a teacher because that's what they've been called to do or feel that their purpose is. I didn't know what the title of my purpose truly was my entire life. I didn't know that there was a name for it. And that's where it gets powerful for me, because technically, according to my certifications, I am a master life coach. That is my title. But I wouldn't have said when I was 7 or 8 years old, I want to be a master life coach. You have these other ideas.
Right.
I wanted to be a teacher. I want to be a nurse.
Right.
But coaching is powerful in its own way. So that's because everybody had always said, as I was growing up, you listen so easily. It's so easy to relate to you. And because of my strong passion and love and desire for wanting to help other people, I felt like this was where I belong. I felt at home here. I don't feel like I don't want to say I have to try. Of course, everybody needs to try in what they do, but it does come very naturally for me. And it's comfortable. It's an intuition thing for me. And I can feel what I need to do next with my clients. I don't need a book to go through to say, okay, this is what the strategy and the plan says that I'm supposed to be doing in this outline. I need to do this next. No, I follow my heart and because every person is different.
Right.
Every person's needs are so different than the person sitting next to them. They may be the same gender. They may be the same religion. They may be from the same neighborhood and the same culture and have the same diseases or disabilities, but they're still different people and they think differently and their needs are still different. And that's where I come in, because I've had such a variety of life experiences myself that this is where I belong. I can support people going through these challenges. I can try to encourage them and be that accountability partner. And I can empower them through my own stories and through giving life stories and situations to allow them to see things from a different perspective, to see things differently. And sometimes it just takes that shift in perspective to be able to get that nudge to keep going forward and to keep going on the journey that we were meant to be on.
Elizabeth, you touched on something very interesting. You said accountability partner. Can you go deep into that?
Absolutely. In my understanding and my presentation of accountability partner, it's kind of like that best friend relationship in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend's going through a tough time. You're not just going to let them sit and fall on their face time and time again.
Right.
You're going to encourage them. You're going to say, stand up for yourself. Do something. It is your time to do something. You don't need to be in this position. And you guide them, give them some hope, give them some light and say, you need to do this. And by the next time I talk to you in 2 days, I want you to have told yourself at least 15 things positive about yourself. That's what you would do with a best friend who's having a hard time. So that's what I do with my clients. That's the accountability partner. Encourage them to achieve their goals, encourage them to keep moving forward, and encourage them to know that they're not alone doing this. There's going to be challenges and obstacles to overcome no matter what we're doing in life. And when you're struggling, fall back on me. Let me be that support, and I can keep pushing you. I can keep giving you that little extra nudge that you may need to say, you know what, I can do this. Let me remind you of these accomplishments that you've made in the past and these transformations that I've seen or witnessed in the last 3 sessions that we've had. Let me keep pushing you forward, because I believe in my heart that each person has everything that they need within them to be successful at whatever they desire. We all have that within us. It's just we're not sure how to tap into that knowledge, tap into that information or those skills or methods to be able to move forward in the way that we desire. They lie dormant. It's like the moments that you're listening to music and you just start laughing because I haven't heard that song in 34 years, but I still remember every single word. You wouldn't have been able to pull that out of your hat 2 minutes ago, but you still remember it. And once you get used to feeling that and reusing these skills that we already know and have embedded within our beings and in our souls, it really is it takes the burden off of having to move forward and the pressure of having to do everything alone. That's what an accountability partner is.
This is very inspiring, I have to say, Elizabeth, even more than I thought, even more. So it's very exciting. We have a lot of things to ask still. Okay, our listeners may be thinking, okay, this is interesting, but first of all, how much time it takes to become a life coach? Meaning, I do understand you have many certifications. If you can tell us a little bit about each of them and how much time it took for you to complete them, and how much it's going to cost someone to do that.
Well, that's the beauty of coaching. For example, I feel like it's taken me my entire lifetime to truly get to where I'm at, because if I wouldn't have gone through these past 36 years of life experiences, I wouldn't be able to relate on the level that I can relate to the group of people that I'm serving.
Right.
So it's a personal time thing. It's a personal choice. When it comes to the certification themselves, the courses that I personally chose to take, I'm working with 2 different organizations right now for that these certifications and a deeper understanding of how to help myself grow along with others. The one is called Transformation Academy. Those courses end in a certification, and they are self-paced. They're online courses. There are hundreds of videos. There are worksheets that come along with each course that are downloadable. There are workbooks. There's an actual manual for each course, so to speak, that you can read through. And it's a matter of working through at a pace that is comfortable for you. Or should I say the individual taking the course. Some of my certifications I've been able to, in my opinion, master in a matter of 5 or 6 days, spending 5, 6, 7 hours a day working on really understanding and putting into practice what I'm learning, and reviewing so that I can master these skills. Other courses of mine have taken upwards of months to complete because they are in depth. So I have a variety of certifications, like you've mentioned. I am a master life coach, which covers a couple different areas: professional life, happiness, life purpose, and goals and success. I'm working on a master mindset life coach certification right now, which covers more psychologically based methods and techniques to allow and encourage the clients to change their thought patterns so that they can have an impact on their behaviors and their emotions more positively moving forward. So if someone's really struggling with self-doubt and self-sabotage and putting themselves down all the time, I work with them and teach them techniques and skills on how to change those thought patterns, so that they have the behaviors and the attitude that they're looking for. I have certifications in mindfulness. My most recent certification, which I'm having a lot of fun with, is a meditation facilitator. And so I'm a certified meditation facilitator and life coach. And that is unbelievably powerful for me, because not only am I taking what I'm learning in these courses to grow personally, but I'm able to share that with other people then and help them to continue to grow and flourish on their own time. And it truly is a beautiful thing. Originally, I truly just wanted to take these courses so that I could be a better person, simply so that I could better myself. And then when I realized the impact that it was having on me and the positive ways that I was transforming in my own life, people around me started to notice that difference. And I was like, you know what? I could really support other people in in what they're doing too. So this is what I meant to do. This is fantastic. And the other program that I'm working with, the world's, I guess, top rated life coach. His name is David Key.
Oh.
He's out of the UK. And I'm doing, it's called the Ultimate Coach Program with him, and working with other coaches and sharing our experiences and truly learning that all that we have is within us, and everything begins with a simple thought. And I don't want to go too much into detail because then that'll go into my services. But, you know, it's powerful. And I took a dual I'm sorry, having trouble speaking, a dual certification with David Key and Transformation Academy. I am a certified neuro-linguistics programming practitioner. And basically what that means is through the training that I took, I have learned how to help people to rewire their brains into doing things in a different manner, or being able to move forward much more quickly by creating new pathways in the brains to be able to do this. And we solely do it through visualization and imagery processes. And it's really incredible things, because the brain doesn't truly know whether it's something we're imagining or whether it's something that we're experiencing in real time. So we can kind of trick our bodies or persuade our bodies into thinking that we're doing something when we might not be. And that can be incredibly powerful.
Elizabeth, it really sounds super, super powerful. In this dual certification, how did you get that? How much it took you to pay for that one?
Well, it depends on if you purchase them straight out or you find a discount code. I am the type where, and living, I can say this here, living on a disability check, we know income isn't all that much.
Yeah.
So I try to find discounts wherever I'm able.
Of course.
And I happened to come across a code on Facebook that provided me 90% off on my courses through Transformation Academy. So I took advantage of that right away, and I've purchased a total of 15 courses altogether through Transformation Academy, and that total, with all the discounts, it was I'd say less than $300.
So that includes that dual certification you mentioned now, right?
Yes.
All right. And how long it took you to complete that one? Because it sounds very, very complex, the neurolinguistic one.
That sort of neurolinguistics programming took approximately 3.5 months to complete.
It makes
and now,
sense.
granted, this is all on your own time.
Right.
So
right.
there were some days that I would spend hours upon hours working on it, and there were other days where I have a goal set to do a minimum of 20 minutes of studying every day. So there are some days with my health issues, I can't do more than that. And, you know, I work through that 20 minutes and I might have to repeat that 20 minutes the next day because not everything sank in, but you know, it's more practice, the better off we are. And it's not just so that I can support others, but truly create a lasting change and transformation within my own being.
Right. By helping others, you're helping yourself as well.
Exactly.
It's so fascinating, to be honest with you. And I'm sure some listeners are asking, all right, I understand, but if you can give us a price range for one course, only one course. Let's say people want to be the standard life coach.
Just a single life coach certification.
Yeah.
Without the discounts, it would be anywhere between $500 and $900.
Okay.
And that's without the discounts. Now, like I said, they offer discounts throughout the entire year on Facebook. So if you can manage to catch a code, it drops at 80, 70, 90%, sometimes 40%. So I was able to snag my master life coach certifications, which is 4 certifications in one. So you have to complete all 4 before you get the title of master. And that cost, I think, less than $50 with my 90% off.
Now, listeners may be thinking, okay, where in Facebook did she find this?
So all you have to do, if you are on Facebook or even just go on the internet and reach out, the program is called Transformation Academy. It is run, the owners and founders and the people who actually do the trainings. Their names are Joel and Natalie Rivera. They're a husband and wife team. And their trainings are so beautifully in depth and cover so much information. They are beautiful people inside and out. And I've been in contact with them several times because I was concerned, how am I going to be able to do this online course being someone who is blind or visually impaired?
Right.
My concern was accessibility.
Right.
Is it going to be compatible with my screen readers? How am I
Right.
going to do this? How am I going to do that? They guided me through, and it's been unbelievable. Their program was specifically designed. They hired someone to come in and do formatting for them and make sure that all of their PDF files are fully accessible with screen reader technology.
Oh, wow.
Which blew my mind, because in conversations with them, they said that they've had, I believe, less than one handful of people. They've worked with over 450,000 coaches in training in over 195 different countries, and less than 5 of them have been blind or visually impaired.
Less than 5?
Less than 5.
Oh my God.
So the fact that they're still taking
Yes.
this population into consideration
Incredible.
is really what drew me in and said, this is where I belong to do my trainings, because they get it.
Yes.
They get it.
They
And
do.
I can't tell you how many times I've looked at a program and said, this is a great program, but there's no way I could do it because none of the materials are accessible. And it just breaks my heart, so that's why I have absolutely no problem supporting and trying to advertise
Right.
for Transformation Academy. They have been unbelievable with their programs. So if you're looking to find out more information, you can Google Transformation Academy, and it'll bring up more information about all the variety of courses that they offer. You can get information about, Natalie and Joel and how they started their program, and basically all the ins and outs of coaching. It's really a remarkable opportunity.
Now, Elizabeth, a question that comes to my mind is, can you give us an example of how many sessions does it take to get someone on track in their life? Let's say someone says, I'm going to give you a real life example.
Okay.
Someone I know who says, boy, I'm stuck in my life because I need to find work, but I have so many interests in life, I don't decide where to put all my energy in finding work. How many sessions that can take? Because sometimes, Elizabeth, people say, yeah, life coach, it may take me a year. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay a whole year of sessions. What do you say?
My personal approach is I call it a discovery session.
Mm-hmm.
I offer a full session at no cost. So that could be anywhere between a half hour to 2 hours. to really get to know each of these clients individually, their ins and outs of what they're looking for, what I might be able to support them with. And from there, we work together to come up with that plan of how many sessions we feel that they may need. In that situation, I would say probably between 6 and 10 sessions. And I do sessions that are about 45 minutes in length. And then the session's 45 minutes, and then we take 15 minutes together to reflect and review things, go over questions, and just have more of a conversation. It really does depend on each person individually. If they're really gung-ho about wanting to get this done, I'm all for this, this is what I want, I know I'm going to work through this, it may only take 4 or 5 sessions if they're willing to put all of that extra work in to making their goals and their dreams become their reality. So it really is specific to each person. I've had someone who only needed 3 sessions to fully complete their goal, but I've also had other clients who needed more attention and needed more guidance and I don't want to say hand holding, but just really constant support, constant encouragement until they were able to grasp the fact that they're the ones that are making these changes. And that took about 16 or 17 sessions.
Elizabeth, I have a question. I have known some life coaches who says, we never give advice. We push them, we motivate them, but we don't give a specific advice. Meaning, let me try to give you an example. Let me think. Let's say someone is looking for work in Germany, but also is thinking of going to Italy. And he explains the whole case to you. And at the end of the session says, okay, Elizabeth, what should I take? I mean, should I go to France? Should I go to Italy? And why? What does Elizabeth says to that of we don't give advice as such?
I try not to give advice. It's really not my place because I'm not living the life of my client.
Right.
I don't know how their mind fully works because the way I may approach something may be very different from the way someone else would approach something. So I try not to give advice where, if at all possible. In that situation, I would really get down to, let's discuss this together. Let's work through this. You make the list. And I give prompters, so to speak. So what would the benefit of going to Germany be? What would the benefit of going to Italy be? And then what would the cons be? What would the negatives be about each of those? Now, comparing the two, which mean the most to you, which are most important to you, and which do you care less? So let's go through and number them on a scale of 1 to 10. So I provide them the tools so that they can, it's like giving a fisherman the fishing rod, the bait, the bobber, and the line, and teaching them how to fish. But I'm not fishing for them.
Right.
So I'm giving them the tools and the methods to be able to learn to work through that. Right. And then they ultimately are the ones making the final decision. Right. Because they need to be proud and take responsibility for whatever choice they're making ultimately. I am not at all liable in any decisions or choices that my clients make. Right. That is solely on them because legally I can't tell someone what to do. Right. Nor would I want to. So if something goes great, wonderful. That's fantastic. But ultimately, the clients are the ones that are making these choices and these decisions. I just help guide them through, bring out different pointers that they may not have taken into consideration before. for example, along those lines, I've had someone come to me and say, I'm currently living in Nevada in the United States, but I want to move to, England.
Right.
And I'm fully disabled. Well, my first question is, what benefits, what medical benefits, what financial support are you receiving here? And how would it be when you go over there? Are you aware of the changes that would make for you?
Right.
Some people may not have taken that into consideration.
Right.
Or even on a simpler note, I'll give my own example. I would love to be able to go an hour, 2 hours away to go on vacation. But with all of my medical supplies and all of the things that I would need to take along, depending on how I'm feeling at a given moment, is it really worth packing all of this stuff up
Right.
and being concerned about how I'm going to be feeling and allowing these worries to overwhelm my mind the whole time I'm gone? Am I going to enjoy my time gone for a day? Is it really worth it? So, we really have to work through those on our own terms. So I don't give advice. I'm the reality checker. That's what we can call me. I'm the reality checker.
I like that term, and I love your explanation, which is what I needed to hear, because people sometimes they don't explain things too well. And that's what I needed to hear, and I'm sure our listeners understand very well why you do what you do, how you do it. Now, money. I know people are asking, okay, she's great. How much does it cost to have her services?
That is also a great question. I have a huge smile on my face right now. I guess this is where my heart is most full, is I do understand. I understand financial difficulty. I understand some people have a wealth of finances. I understand that some people do not have the means for basic sustenance in life, such as food or shelter or clothes, and others absolutely can afford that. And I also truly believe in my heart that we all have gifts that we can offer one another in life. And the way that I have worked up to this point, and as of right now, I have no intention or no specific point in the future that I plan on changing this. But as of this exact moment in time, I work on a sliding scale and a barter system. Obviously, I prefer having, actual paid clients if possible, even if it is minimal. If somebody truly needs this support, I want to be able to help them, because everybody deserves an opportunity and a chance to grow and better themselves.
Right.
And if they're coming to me and truly want that change in their life and want that transformation to be able to grow, I don't want to be able to say or have to say, well, you can't afford me. Well, I'm no better than anybody else. I am a human being just trying to live my life every day. And, so it could be $20 for a session, or if they truly do have the financial means, it could be $75 a session. I do charge less for packages. So if somebody just wants a single session, okay. But if you commit to, say, 8 sessions with me or 7 sessions, the cost of each individual session becomes less. And I have also worked with clients before who truly do not have any financial means. They struggle just to be able to make their daily needs met, to put that food on the table or have home and heat to surround them every day, a shelter over their heads and clothes on their back. Well, I don't want to take any extra financial, sustenance away from them, resources. It's to me, that would be heartbreaking. So at that point, I would reach out and discuss with them. And this is all on a case-to-case basis. So it won't be the same from person to person. But I may reach out and say, what personal talents or gifts do you have that you can share with me? And we can barter. So for one session, I may, in return, someone may feel that a session is worth $50 of their time and energy, and they may be very gifted at artwork. So they may send me a piece of artwork that they would typically charge $50 for. Mm-hmm. Somebody may be gifted in massage. And please, if you are gifted in massage and want to barter, I love massage. But things like that, it's one of those, everybody deserves an opportunity. And if I can promote self-awareness and allow others to be able to see how powerful and empowering their own gifts are in the process of being able to support them during this difficult or challenging time, which is why they're coming to me. I'm killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. Not that I want to, it's beautiful. It's that much more rewarding in my mind because they're able to get so much more out of it than just, growth.
Elizabeth, I have a very personal question for our listeners. I think it's a fascinating question in my view, but I'm not sure how do you see it. But when you work with so many different people's problems and issues and things, how do you stay well emotionally when you are dealing with your things and others at the same time? How do you decompress? How do you deal with that?
That is an excellent question. And I think this can actually not just be in my circumstances, but I'll share this because this might be able to help other people if they're in a similar situation. I have mentally scheduled into every single day several points of self-care. So every morning as I'm lying in bed, even if I'm awake, I'll continue to lie here for 5 minutes as if I'm sleeping, and I'll reflect and I'll breathe deeply and calmly and set my intentions for my day. I may not be feeling great, but you know what? Helping and supporting other people is empowering to me in a way. I think I had said this to you before, when I'm working with people, it's like plugging me into a wall and charging my batteries. I get so much joy and personal contentment and personal peace knowing that I'm able to support, encourage, and empower other people in their journeys. And, it's empowering for me and charges me up, but it's also very draining. I do one regular session and I really have to take some time to clear my mind, to prepare. I feel very strongly about not bringing my personal issues into anything that I do work-wise. It's very important to be professional and have a drawn line and say, I'm not crossing this line. So my personal feelings and whatnot stay on one side and my professionalism goes on the other. And there are times where afterwards I sit and I just think and I just breathe. And then I sit down and I write out my notes, type out my notes from the session and try to figure out how I could have done better if it didn't go as we had hoped that session, or, what I could offer next time for the clients. And then after that, again, I sit and I breathe. And I make sure that throughout the day, if I catch myself starting to feel overwhelmed, if I catch myself allowing thoughts of work coming into my personal life or thoughts of my personal life coming into a session, I just take a moment and I breathe and I remind myself that I am not my thoughts. I am simply having a thought, and that is okay. But I am not physically my thoughts. I am not overwhelmed. I am feeling overwhelmed. I'm having that feeling. And that really changes a lot in the way that I can approach things, because it's like, wow, it's not as intense then, because it's not taking over my entire body. Panic will usually take over your whole body when your mind is racing, and then your heart goes pounds so fast and you get short of breath and you can't breathe. Well, just breathe. Nothing's changing. You're still here. You're safe. It's okay. And there's no reason to allow those things to affect each other. It's okay. It's normal to think about your clients when you're not working, or a client may say something and it'll spark something of your home life.
Right.
And that's okay. That's completely okay.
Right.
But it's how you react and respond to that that
Right.
makes the difference. And I'm learning just to take a second, remind myself it's just a thought, putting it in a bubble and letting it float away. Now's not the time. It'll come back to me when I need it.
Elizabeth, I hear a lot about the law of attraction. Does life coach use this system or technique, and what do you think about this?
I personally am not very familiarized with the law of attraction. I personally know several coaches who focus on that, and focus on relationships and whatnot. I do not have any personal experience in that type of training, or that type of understanding. And, but for some, that may be a calling. For some, that may be where they have experience. And if that can help and support others in their journey, fantastic. But for me personally, that's not something that I focus in at all, nor know much about, truthfully.
Now, Elizabeth, sometimes you meet people who are not very conscious about the importance of their mindset, what they are thinking, using their brain to their benefit,
Right.
Is it very difficult to wake up that brain and make sure that person that has never been in touch with that part of himself or herself, to say, you need to start utilizing your brain in a good way, because it's not helping you right now?
That's a very excellent point. I love your questions. They're all fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much.
I feel like a broken record when I keep saying this, but every person is different.
Right.
Some, it is so much easier to get to that point, and you can get there within a matter of minutes when beginning to work with some clients. Some clients, it may not be till the 7th or 8th session before you get there. It's because each individual's experience is so different. The way each person has been brought up in life, their societal norms, their cultural background, their family influence, the community influence that they're raised in their environments. Thought patterns may be different. People may feel that, nope, this is what I've got. This is all I've got. I can never really get anywhere because this is the best as it gets. That's called a fixed mindset, because they don't feel like there's ever going to be an opportunity to get and grow,
right,
and to move forward. But with a positive growth mindset, It's an opportunity to realize that every moment we encounter in life is an opportunity for growth. Every moment that we experience provides an opportunity to learn and to remember. And for me personally, it brings up the idea of success versus failure. And I don't like the word failure because it sounds so negative.
Right.
You know, to me, there's success, and then there's opportunity for growth and learning from our experiences. To me, that's what failure is. Just because you didn't get it right doesn't mean you're a failure and you need to give up. There's always room to grow. It brings me to one of my favorite quotes is when Edison created the light bulb, he didn't fail 1,001 times before he found the right way.
Right.
He only found 1,001 times ways of how not to make a light bulb.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's perspective.
It's perspective. Everything is perspective. Yes.
That's all life is a matter of perspective.
Perspective.
And if we truly feel that we are stuck, there's no place for, then why are you trying? Why do you do anything if you don't think you can do anything? Like, if this is the best it gets, well, why even try?
Right.
Why even try to move forward? But what if? That's what I say to people who come to me saying, well, this is the best it gets. No. What if? Just imagine for 1 second. What if? What is your dream? What if that dream came true? How would you feel? And then we get talking and it's like, well, you do realize that it is possible for that to happen. You just have to find ways, create a plan, make goals, achieve those goals. And it's all about achievable small steps. You know, the world wasn't created in a second. You know, one of my favorite things that I've learned in these courses, and I know I keep bringing these types of situations up, but
right.
One thing that may help people understand this concept is, if you imagine your entire lifetime, if you try to eat every single meal that you would eat your entire lifetime in one sitting, it's very overwhelming. And I bring that up because I like to eat. I love food. But it's extremely overwhelming and you physically cannot do it, which is like that fixed mindset. This is all I get, so I got to do it now. Or if not, I'm a failure. No. If you make small, manageable goals, which is eating one meal, a nice portion, and then waiting a few hours and having another meal, spreading it out into manageable chunks, anything is achievable. And then think of the variety of things that you get to try and truly be aware of and experience. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's how I would approach a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset.
It does, Elizabeth. And I only have a couple of questions to go, and I have to ask this to someone as positive as you, and it's about the famous pandemic we are facing in this planet Earth. I want your opinion or any thoughts or tips on how to approach this pandemic for people who feel overwhelmed. The anxiety levels of people are through the roof. I was reading the other day the amount of chocolate people are eating right now is like 60% more than before the pandemic hit.
And what's wrong with that? Chocolate's delicious.
I think it's wonderful.
I'm sorry.
Well, I
just
get
kidding. I get what
chocolate all the time, but yeah, I know what you're saying, and people complain about it, thinking, okay, too much of everything,
Right.
too much alcohol, drugs, couples are, arguing and splitting up more than before. What do you say to that situation, and overall the anxiety level of people is it's unbelievable. And obviously it's understandable because we never thought we would live through something like it seems like in a movie, but it's absolutely real. But the approach, how you react to this pandemic, how do you see this whole thing?
Another excellent question. I will start out by saying I think it's devastating. It breaks my heart that a situation like this exists, but we can't control what's outside of our control.
Right.
We cannot control our environment. The only thing we have control of in life is ourselves. And if we think about it in that aspect, it really helps to lessen that giant weight on our shoulders of overwhelm and thinking, well, what do I have to do to fix this? Well, you can't. One individual person cannot fix this. We have to focus on ourselves in a way. And I'm not saying be selfish and don't care about other people. What I'm saying is when you feel overwhelmed with this situation, know you are not alone. Understand that this situation is out of our control. So what we need to do is focus on ways to keep ourselves healthy, to keep ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically strong, and ways to continue to spread love, kindness, and light to every situation we encounter. And it's not easy. It does take a conscious effort. You keep saying, oh, you're so positive. Well, I am, but don't get me wrong. I have tough days too. We all do, because I happen to be that word human. I like to say superwoman, superhuman. I'm truly not. That's just an idea, but everybody feels that way at some time or another.
Right.
The important thing is, what can you do to get through this moment? This moment, this is all we have. Everything in the past is simply a memory or history that we can read up on. Everything in the future is unknown and kind of just a dream. All we have is right now. And when we're so distracted about the past or the future and what's going to happen and what are we going to do, we're losing out on everything right now. We're losing out on beautiful moments of just beautiful moments, period. It was one of those things where I'll give an example. I was out in my backyard yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it was freezing cold. It was like 31 degrees and very, very, very windy, which made it feel more like 23, 24.
Huh.
And I was out relieving my guide dog. And rather than thinking, oh, it's so cold, I can't wait to get back inside. Oh, it was warm inside. Yes, it was warm before I came out here, and I'm going to be warm when I go inside. I simply enjoyed taking in that freezing cold air into my lungs, and it put a smile on my face. And I took notice as to how my body was feeling, and just simply being aware of how my hands that had been so warm were slowly getting colder. It was a beautiful thing just to experience that in that moment, and to listen to kids playing down the street outside. If I were so wrapped up in thoughts of overwhelm and what can I do to fix this global issue in this moment, I would have missed out on that opportunity.
Right.
And like I've said before, I'm not saying you don't want to focus on, what we can do to help or fix things. But when we do feel that feeling of overwhelm, it's so important to realize that we need to focus on right now and just getting through this moment. And when we get through this moment, then we give ourselves a challenge and say, okay, if I can get through this moment, then maybe I can get through a minute. And when a minute passes by, it's like, wow, okay, that wasn't so bad. Let's give another challenge. How about let's get through the next 5 minutes? And then when that 5 minutes is up, it's like you can breathe, and it's such a relief going, wow, I did that. And before you know it, the whole day has gone by and you're experiencing beautiful things along the way. So rather than biting each other's heads off and trying to prove a point because you feel you're right and that person's wrong, take a moment to step back and just listen. And know that we all have opinions and they all stink. You know, no opinion is necessarily 100% accurate because everyone has a different perspective.
Right.
But it's important for us to understand and respect the opinions and the feelings of others. And when we respect and listen, it really cuts back on that arguing, because you don't need to be right, because everybody is being valued equally and respected equally. You know, some people turn to alcohol, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to drinking or eating, and other addictive behaviors. You know, everything in moderation. You know, getting away from things and escaping isn't the answer, because when you come back, it's still going to be there. We have to not worry, but focus our intention on how do we get through now without all of that external help physically. You know, you don't need alcohol to get through this moment. You need to breathe. You know, have a drink of water, be thankful for everything we have in this moment. So that's what I would say. There is no one answer to your question. There are many, many ways of approaching it, and because of each individual's personal preferences and ways of living, you know, that will be different and vary from person to person. But, you know, starting at the basics of just breathing and being more aware of everything we're doing in each moment as we work through each moment can really be powerful and encouraging, because if we can do it for 5 minutes, you know, maybe we can do it for 10 minutes, and before you know it, it's years that you're doing it. And it's the beautiful, beautiful thing.
Elizabeth, do you have any tips about how to organize your daily life? You're a very busy woman. You are a mother, you study, you teach, you do so many things. And the other thing I want to ask you is, does discipline play a role in your life?
Discipline. That is a great word, because I don't punish myself. That's typically what comes to mind when people hear the word discipline. Punishing yourself if you don't do something, quote unquote, the right way, or whatnot. However, I have a discipline where I have a schedule that I follow somewhat. I encourage people to make a, quote, ta-da list instead of a to-do list. You put things on your list, and when you accomplish them, put a line through it and say, ta-da, I did it, and celebrate. You know, that can be very helpful in getting through the day and making sure everything is taken care of. I use mental notes quite frequently. Obviously, not being able to see, writing one down and sticking it on a Post-it isn't beneficial for me. But I have been blessed to have a wonderful life partner who does remind me quite frequently of the things that I said I needed to do or wanted to get done. He's been fabulous in my growth and my journey. I wouldn't be here today the way I am if it weren't for his support. But you know, the more, that's where it comes to the discipline of things. The more you repeat certain actions, behaviors, affirmations, the more you believe it and the more it becomes a habit. And that's where rewiring your brain becomes so strong. And that's all the wires in the brain really mean, is the brain remembers ways of doing things and getting them accomplished. So it adds a quick short path from one point A to point B, so that you know how to get it done. Everything is memorized in a habit. So it just happens naturally, second nature. So having created those habits for myself and encouraging those habits in those that I work with, or even in my household. I mean, my son's 17 and a half. I love the teenage years. I keep telling myself this. No, don't get, he's a great young man. But it really has started to show up, you know, that
Right.
we think so often, oh, they're just kids, they don't understand, but they see and hear so much more and put it in a place in their minds that when it's time, it'll start to show that they remembered. And I see that in my son's behavior every day, in the way he conducts himself and his character in his presence. So I know that in him witnessing what I'm doing, it's had an impact on him, which has transformed the way he lives his life in a way. So it is a discipline. It is a way that I have set up my life that works for me. The way I do things might not work for you, Savero. It might not, you know, it may not work for my neighbor, but it works for me. And that's what's important. So we each have to come up with that way. And that's something that I do with my clients, is we come up with ways together. We work on that together to figure out what steps we need to take, what type of discipline we need to instill in our everyday activity, our everyday life, so that things become second nature and habit, and that we are able to rewire our brain and to be able to have what we want when we want it, and to be able to be faithful in all that we're doing.
Okay, so powerful. I before I let you go, if you can, after the interview, stay for a few minutes. I have something to tell you that may be useful for you.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
After doing this interview and learning more about all that you do, I have a comment or two. All right. Okay. So diabetes. For our listeners, and we are ending the interview because it's very powerful, and I don't want to give too much information. I'm sure in the future there will be more talks with Elizabeth, but can you give us a sense of how it's like living with diabetes with technology, thankfully?
With technology, living as, and I get emotional about this because I am so passionate about it. And this is one of my specialty areas that I do in coaching, is I am not a certified diabetes educator. However, I do provide training to individuals that live with diabetes and blindness on how to use today's technologies into making the management of their disease more comfortable, not as stressful, and just less to worry about, so to speak, more of an acceptance of it all. Technology, before I lost my sight, I could see my insulin pump, which delivered my insulin through a continuous drip. It's kind of like an IV that goes into my fat cells.
Right.
But I could see the screen to program it. That technology is phenomenal, because using a syringe or an insulin pen, you can only give 1 or maybe 2 units is the smallest dose. But with an insulin pump, when I still had my sight, say 10 years ago, was you could get at least half a unit as a smallest dose. The way technology has progressed, now I can get 1,000th of a unit
Oh, wow.
at a time, which is just mind-boggling to me. So the precision in being able to manage my disease has really strengthened because of this technology. And along those lines is, I'm wearing a continuous glucose monitoring system. It's called a Dexcom G6, and it's a little box, I guess you could say, that I attaches to my skin, and it has a little wire that goes under my skin into my fat. And again, I refer to my fat for my diabetes quite frequently. I have plenty of it. I'm a little fluffy person. So it makes it easier to choose where I can put my devices. But this Dexcom glucose monitor connects with my phone. The technology is at a place where my screen readers on my iPhone read me out loud my blood sugars.
Wow.
I don't have to prick my finger.
Wow.
I was testing my blood sugar 15 plus times a day before I went on my glucose sensor. When I was on injections, I was getting 15 plus injections a day.
Wow.
Now I change my insulin pump every other day, and I change my sensor once every 10 days. And my blood sugar is literally at my ears anytime I need it, because it updates every 5 minutes.
Wow.
It tells me exactly my glucose. It tells me if I'm slowly rising, rapidly falling, slowly falling, or, oh no, you better eat now. We call that the holy crap factor, but that doesn't show up on the phone necessarily. It just alarms very loudly. So technology has really brought this disease to a place where I feel as though I'm not chasing my disease all the time. Now, I just happen to live with diabetes. Diabetes was so overwhelming in every aspect of my life before, because everything I ate, I had to check my blood sugar beforehand, and then 20 minutes after, and then an hour after, and then get a shot to cover what I was eating, and did I get enough? And the technology, it figures all of that out for you.
Wow.
It has an algorithm, and my insulin pump and glucose sensor connect to each other, creating a closed loop system. So it almost acts like a pancreas. So my pump sees my blood sugar is slowly going up, and it gives me a little extra dose of insulin to bring me down to a normal level. If it sees that I'm dropping, it'll stop all insulin deliveries so that it can adjust itself on its own. And it truly is remarkable, because if it weren't for technology, I would still be poking myself how many times a day, and that's all I would be doing. Every aspect of my life before this technology focused on my diabetes, and now I can do other things and check my sugar occasionally if I don't feel right, because I know that the technology will alarm me when something's going wrong.
Right.
And it is just such a comforting thing. It's a miracle in my eyes. And I'm just so grateful that I've had this opportunity to be put on these medical equipment and this technology, because in a way it's saving my life. It's prolonging what could have happened so much sooner. And for that, I'm beyond grateful.
I love technology too for our listeners. And when I was losing my sight, technology blew me away. I mean, in my case, like yours, and I'm not promoting any particular device, but it was an iPhone, of course, as our listeners know. But of course, Android is doing wonderful things as well. But technology as such is changing people's lives if is well used, of course, is incredible. And so we go to the final question that I say to Elizabeth what are your final thoughts about this powerful talk?
Alvaro, I cannot thank you enough for providing me an opportunity to spread this awareness, to make it more widely known as to what not only life coaches can do, but that there's really no limits when it comes to the world of blindness. There's no limits to what we can achieve as human beings. The only limit that we really have is the ones that we place on ourselves. And when we say, I can't do that, whatever that may be. And it's so valuable to know that every moment is an opportunity to grow. Every moment is an opportunity to learn. And it may be learning how not to do things in the future, but we're still learning and we're still growing from that and becoming stronger. And everybody deserves that opportunity. And I'm just so grateful that you took the time to ask me to join your program so that I can let that message be heard. And there are people who understand, who get it. And you don't have to do whatever it is you are doing alone. There are people who care. There are people who want to support you and encourage you and empower you in your journey, whatever that may be. So please don't ever feel like you have to be alone. And I may not be that person for you. If I am, fantastic. If not, we'll find somebody that can be that person for you. But just know that you have everything you need within you. And believe in yourself. Because when you believe, you truly can make the impossible possible.
Nothing to add to that, because there's nothing else I can say. So the only thing I can say, Elizabeth, is how can people reach out to you?
Well, my name that I use for my coaching is the Self-Discovery Advisor. I can be found through my website, which is screen reader accessible. All images are described, so you get a full idea of what's going on from a visual perspective through the descriptions. And that is www.theselfdiscoveryadvisor.com. All one word, no punctuation. It can be lowercase, any capitals, that's fine, but it'll still get you to where you need to go. And again, that's www.theselfdiscoveryadvisor.com. I can be reached via email at theselfdiscoveryadvisor@gmail.com. Again, no spaces, no punctuation, just the Self-Discovery Advisor smushed into one word at gmail.com. And I can also be found on Facebook at the Self-Discovery Advisor. So that's ways of contacting me. You can also Facebook message me via those modalities, and or reach out to Alvaro and he can get you in touch with me.
And for our listeners, I will put a link to her website on the interviews link as well. All right, Elizabeth, what a powerful conversation. I'm so happy we did this, Elizabeth. And again, I said this on the air, we have a new friendship here going on for sure. So it's nice to see that happening when you are doing a new interview. And I have done a lot of good friends through the years doing my show, but I really feel a powerful connection with you, Elizabeth, in understanding of helping other people, helping yourself at the same time. So, but anyhow, I'm not gonna keep talking. So I just want to say, Elizabeth, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your approach about life, which is wonderful.
Thank you so much. It's been beyond a pleasure and enjoyable on this end as well.
My pleasure. And for our listeners, remember to smile, to be happy. And if you want to be on the show, remember to email me at lowvisionbureau@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at lowvisionbureau. And this is Alvaro from LVB Show saying good night.